Okay, on this video, I'm going to walk you through a little bit of my electronic records management software. I use software called TheraNest. Um, I chose this software for a couple of different reasons. First of all, obviously, I liked all the functions that it had within it, in that there was a calendar function. There is, obviously client functions where I can take my notes, I can write treatment plans, but then there's also billing in here where I can actually do if I accepted third party reimbursement, I could actually submit insurance claims within the software. I don't do that, so that function of it isn't important to me. But if there was somebody else in my practice that wanted to be an insurance provider, it gives them that option. But it also allows me to do a super bill, and a super bill is the document that insurance companies require for reimbursement. So if I have clients who have out of network benefits and they want to submit for reimbursement, then I can provide that super bill with them. It meets all the criteria, and then they do all that reimbursement on their own. It also allows me to run reports so I can look and see how much money I've made. I can look at my client no-show rate. There's a lot of different reports that are within this. But one of the things that I really liked about this was, number one, you can have multiple providers within this. So I have 5 other counselors that work in my practice, and there was no additional cost per provider. Some of the stuff that I looked at, there was a cost per provider. Um, the billing for this is based upon the number of active clients that you have in the system. And basically, it's about $1 a client. So the bottom level of, of the billing uh, schedule structure, I guess, is $29.99 a month, and that's for up to 30 clients. And then for every additional client after that, so from 31 to 40 clients, it goes to $39.99. From 41 to 50 clients, it goes to $49.99. So it goes up in $10 increments once you pass over that threshold. So what I'm going to show you right now is I can't show you everything in here because I can't obscure client names. And so if I get too far into this and show you some of the features, then you would be able I would be violating HIPAA. You'd be able to see who some of my clients are. So I can't do that. So I'm going to do this as if I were setting up a new client. So, let's just, this is going to be Cindy client. Okay, and if I have more than one location, then I could choose which location where Cindy will be seen, which I only have one location. So I'm going to save this client here. All right, so now this opens up to me all kinds of information about Cindy. Okay, so here's all of her demographic stuff that I could put in here. I don't use all of this because their income is not important to me. I don't use health insurance, so all of this stuff I don't fill in. But I do, I obviously put in their address. I don't generate a client number. For some practices, they do use client numbers. Right now, we're not big enough to really need to do that. But it will generate a client number for you. And then I don't get their social security number. I don't need that. I don't get who's managing their household information. If it's a child, I'm going to put their emergency contact in here. as their parents. So that's why I don't necessarily need any of this information. I do use marital status, religion, unemployment, that type of stuff, and then how to contact them. So you can see up here, when you see cases like this, what this means is, let's say that I saw Cindy for 3 months and we terminated counseling. She had reached all of her goals, or she was an early termination and quit coming. I can close out Cindy's file. And then let's say 6 months later she comes back, then I'm opening up a new case on her. So that would give me, I can see the different times in which she came. Maybe she comes back for a different issue, so that the treatment plan that I had before is no longer appropriate for the work that we're doing now. These are quick links up here where this is, and we'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to show you some of this other stuff too, where I can go directly to notes, where I can go directly to the ledger, or to schedule an appointment. But you can see those are also over here on this menu on this side. All right, so additional details. Here's, if I need any of this, I don't use this at all. I mean, you can see a lot of this is living will, healthcare proxy, primary care doctor. I might use the medication thing right now. I don't think I'm seeing anybody right now that's taking medication. This housing status, this would be some of the stuff that you might want to do for a psychosocial assessment. And so that, this is this ADL, activities of daily living. This is independent activities of daily living. So these are the things that you would expect people to be able to take care of on themselves. These are some things that determine a level of independence. Okay. So you can see that there's a lot there. Again, if you look at these things, I don't necessarily, for the clients that I am seeing right now, this stuff is not relative to the work that we're doing. So I don't always fill that stuff out. Okay, here's if I'm going to bill or insurance, here's the information there. Service rate, when you set up your practice, it goes in here, and I can say that this is an income-based service rate. I think I'll be able to show you some other stuff let's finish Cindy, and I'll see if I can get into some of the organization stuff to show you that. So I have different counselors who work for me. So if Cindy is not my client, then I would go in here and I would select which other counselor she might be assigned to. I typically don't do that. They do that for themselves. But if I had an office manager, the office manager might do that. Here's information about family. So if you're seeing multiple members of a family, that you can tie them together. Maybe you're seeing parents and you're seeing a child, or you're seeing husband and wife differently, then you can tie those together, and it allows you to create appointments for the entire group. These are general documents. If I want to upload something here, my informed consent is something that we do on paper, but then I scan it and I upload it in here because I don't have any paper files at all. So once I've scanned it and assured that it's uploaded in here, then I shred that informed consent document. Reminders, this is if I don't have this set up, I don't use this a lot. But this is if I wanted to be able to send a text message reminder to the client that I set up as an automatic thing in here to remind her of an appointment, and I don't use that. And then reports, I can do reports on Cindy's appointments, her payment history, and her note history. If I have a request for records, then that's most of the time that I would use that report. That I would go in and do a notes history, and then there's a print function. And within that print function, I can make that all one document, and save it and then give it to whoever it needs to go to after I have written consent to do that. And then this is an adult intake form. This is uh, obviously there's nothing here. This was a form that we started working with, just kind of playing a little bit to see if this was something that we might want to use, because the system does allow you to create your own forms within here. Okay, so we're back to the details on Cindy here. I'm going to show you. Let's go to. Let's say I want to schedule an appointment for her. Then this just pulls up the place for me to schedule an appointment. And so this would be for Cindy client. Let's say that I'm scheduling her for myself, so that would be and these are all, when I was talking earlier about the things you can set up for the practice, for the organization. These are things I have gone in and set up because we have different prices in the practice for the clients that I see, the clients that an LPC sees, and the clients that an intern sees. So when I click on this is connected to billing. So if I do this, when I go to billing, it's automatically going to find this. I'm just going to make an appointment for her, let's say at 6 p.m. today. Okay, so I'm afraid to click on this. I hope that there's a thing over there you can see. Okay, but you can only see initials. Okay, so I've made that. I'm not going to go down there. I've made that appointment for her, and it will show on the calendar. I don't want to go down there because you may be able to see names on that. So you can see up here, recently viewed clients, so CC. I've got it set up where you only see initials. So even among the different counselors within there, they're limited in what they can see. They can see the calendar. One thing I did not do on that appointment, let me go back to this appointment. I'll show you one other thing on this. Okay, I want to select a room. So we have different rooms that we use. So I'm going to select that room. So if I did that, then it shows when the other counselors look at it, then they can see that that room is taken. And the system won't let you schedule an appointment in that room if it's already been scheduled. So because we have 3 rooms, we interchange, and one of them's a playroom. But we have to make sure that if I'm scheduling an appointment, that there's a room available at that time. So let's say that I went on here and there were no rooms available. That tells me I have to select a different time to schedule this. All right, so we're going to save that, and we're going to go back here to Cindy. One of the things, if you saw this on here, so this gives me the opportunity to go in and indicate on this appointment that Cindy missed it, that she was a no-show, that she rescheduled, or that she kept her appointment. And that'll be after the date. So when we go back to her details, we're going to go to notes. So this is the first thing that we do is we do an initial. Okay, so here's the case info. Here's if back, that if what I said, if she was coming back for a second set of sessions, this is where that would be here. And so this all cases, it shows you that I've not closed any cases on her whatsoever. All right, so I don't want to set a new case on her because she's, I'm going to go back to Cindy again. You can see sometimes it's hard to jump around in here a little bit. Close that. Okay, so let's go back to my notes. All right, so this is opened up. It's showing me the date right here. But notice that this is the time that I am doing this, all right? This is the note. I want to make it a note for this appointment. So because that appointment is already on the calendar, then I can do that. So this gives me different things on mental status. If everything is within normal limits, then I just put all within normal limits and it puts that in there for me. Or I can start typing here. See, when I click on here, it gives me, some prompts, or I can put in, I'm going to say she's kind of disheveled. It just puts it there. I can create my own word, or I can use one that's there. Okay, then over here, I'm going to put the, this, when I clicked into notes. Okay, so this is the note for what we are doing. So I'm going to write in my session focus here, what did we cover? This was an intake appointment. I took a clinical history on her. I gathered psychosocial history, that type of thing. Clinical intervention. Because it's a first appointment, it's not really likely that I may have gotten too far into anything. So I might want to say here that I did rapport building, that I did a clinical assessment of her, that type of thing. And then the planned intervention is what will I do next. So there's different ways that you take notes, but this, if you're going to learn SOAP notes, that's subjective, objective, your assessment, and your plan. So those would all be included within here. Then also, okay, I'm going to go back over here to my initial assessment. Okay, so let's say, here's my initial assessment that I'm going to go back and fill out. I've got the presenting problem, why is she here, any pertinent history about her, observations that I made in working with her, psychosocial family history, any risk that's involved, did I need to make a contract, and I think it was when I'm teaching two classes at the same, I think it was in child and adolescent that we talked about contracts and the controversy related to contracts at this point. Basically, it's that there's a legal question of if you need to do a contract with a client, if you are concerned enough about them, why would you let them leave your office? That indicates that there's a level of risk there that was necessary to do a contract. So I don't do contracts with people. Then you have their strengths, who's going to be involved in the treatment. Okay, notice here this says tentative goals and plans. I think I commented on this on somebody's discussion on the discussion board. You should, after your first appointment, have a tentative goal as to what you're working with. Now, that doesn't mean that's your final treatment plan, and treatment plans should be living, breathing documents that you are updating on a regular basis. But after that first appointment, I should be able to identify specifically some things that we're going to work on. You may have an expected length of treatment. I don't always put that in. Sometimes I do. It just kind of depends. And then any cultural variables that might be here. If I think yes, then I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to explain what they were right here. Are they appropriate for agency services? Again, this is a yes or no, and then you're going to describe that. Are there any special needs? You're going to explain that. Any educational vocational problems, you're going to explain that there, yes or no. All right, so that's the initial and then if I want to add a diagnosis, okay, so I'm going to click right here, and let's say that I believe that her diagnosis is major depressive disorder. Look at what pops up here. Okay, it's given me options that I can click on. Okay, I don't think she's psychotic. I do think she has a moderate level of depression, and this isn't her first time she's had that. Okay, so that saves that for me. All right, now I'm going to save that, and I'm going to go over here into my treatment plan. And you can purchase a Wiley treatment planner. If I were doing this full time and seeing 20 clients a week, I would probably do that. given that I see maybe 3 to 5 clients a week, I've not purchased that treatment planner. And that's an additional cost that goes with it. Okay, so I'm going to do my treatment plan. Look here, see how her diagnosis popped up in here? And it's already there sitting waiting for me. Okay, I'm going to say that I'm going to review this treatment plan every 30 days, which is going to put the calendar on there for me. Behavioral definitions, Cindy expresses problems with sleeping and a decreased appetite. She reports being sad most of every day. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to describe what that looks like for me. Okay, again, I'm going to do individual therapy with her. My initiation date of treatment is today. Expected length of treatment, let's say it's going to be 90 days. Appointment frequency is weekly. And then if I'm going to refer her for any other services, maybe let's say I'm going to say yes, I'm going to refer to MD for medication consult. Maybe I think she might need to have a conversation with the doctor about whether she needs medication or not. Okay, so then I'm going to add a goal. All right, and my goal for Cindy is Cindy will decrease depressive symptoms and increase. No, I'm just going to stop there. It's not good to combine stuff like that. Okay, she'll decrease depressive symptoms. I can say, okay, and demonstrate a return to a normal mood. Okay, so then I'm going to start with my objectives. So if I've got this goal that she's going to decrease her depressive symptoms, then how am I going to break that down with that? How am I going to make that happen? Okay, Cindy will establish a regular schedule that she maintains on a daily basis. Okay, and then my interventions title, again, it kind of pops up here. The one thing I don't like about this is that, like, you only get this right here unless I can click right here and go over and see all of these. So here's everything I can go through. Now, I'm working on establishing a schedule, right? Okay, so let's look and see which one of these might most relate to establishing a schedule. Normalization, that could possibly be one. Let me see what else is here. Self-care skills might be one. I can't see what these bottom ones are. I would probably choose on this behavior modification. That's probably what I would choose for this, because we're trying to modify her behavior. Right? I did not. That was an accident. So see how I just clicked out of that and I got out of that? It's easy to do. Okay, I'm going to show this as in progress. Remember, I said that her target completion date would be 90 days. So let's see, September, October, November. That would be November 1st that I would put in there. I want to add another objective in this, okay? Let's see, Cindy will engage in 20 minutes of physical activity daily, okay? And again, I would probably put that as behavior modification. So you can see that I'm starting with this objective from this, and this my objectives are really looking at that biopsychosocial approach to this. All right. So that's just an example of how this works. If you have had 591, you probably have some information on this already. If not, you will get it in 591. But I just wanted you to see how this treatment planning progress or process works within this software system. Okay, so we're going to save that. All right, so we've already talked about the progress note. So if I do this progress note, now look here, my goal is already, because I've done the treatment plan, that my diagnosis is now here and my treatment goal is now here. So this is what we call the golden thread of treatment planning, in that everything that I am doing should go back to this treatment plan. Okay, so again, here's my appointment. I can do, within normal limits, but her mood is not really within normal limits. So I took that one out, and I'm going to show that as depressed. And her affect, I'm going to show as blunted. Okay? Thought processes, everything else. I'm going to say, okay, no, wait. She said that her appetite was decreased and her sleeping is impaired. But you can see that you've got early, middle, or terminal insomnia. You've got stayed up all night to talk to a friend in Australia. That's interesting. That's evidently something somebody put in there. Oh, you know what? No, that's not. That's something I put in there. I forgot about that. That's something that I put in there from a previous client. Both of these things are things that we have, either I've put them in or this other one, this takes medication and sometimes Benadryl. That must be one that another counselor in the group has put in. But you can see how it saves that. So if there are things that you use on a regular basis, that it's going to save it in there for you. That's funny, that part. Stayed up on, I forgot about that client who did that. Okay, so I'm going to save that. And then if I want to go back over here to her notes, I want to, I don't want a new note. I want to look at my old notes. There it is right there. Okay, and if I wanted to go back and edit that or look at it, then I just click on it and go back in there. Okay, and then the clinical documents, that might be, let's say that they had been to another counselor and I had records from the other counselor. I could load that all up in there, or that there was some assessment that I wrote an assessment report to take to the doctor, and so that would be where I would put that. Okay, so now we're going to go to the ledger. All right, so I want a new invoice, and notice it automatically pops up the date of service as today, okay, and it was a therapy intake, and you can see that we've got the system set to do that, okay. I'm kind of bad about forgetting to do this right away, and so sometimes I have to go in and put it in the next day. And if so, this invoice date is going to be whatever date you initiate this, but I could go back and change that if I wanted to. So your invoice date needs to be the date that you collected the payment, even if you didn't put it in the ledger at that time. Okay, if I was billing and I wanted to do a super bill, then I click that, and then I would select myself. Okay, NPI, that's a national provider information number. So, and I do have an NPI, and that's in there. All right, so I've created this statement, this invoice, and I'm going to save it. And she paid me when she left, like all of my clients do. So I'm going to come over here, and I can apply a payment. I can write it off. So I do have a client right now that I am seeing pro bono. And so for my own records, and especially for tax deductions, I do a ledger and I show that it's a write-off. So I can go back into my report and I can run a report for how much I have written off this year. Okay. Here's where you can print that super bill that we talked about. Maybe and we don't do a lot of printing, and I do have a printer there, but a lot of times I will email that to the client. I'll email the super bill to the client after I've put everything in it, because I don't always stop and do this as we're leaving the session. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to apply the payment. So I'm going to say that Cindy paid me with a credit card on that date, and I save it. And so now we see that Cindy does not have a balance due there. Okay. If I was going to bill to insurance, then that goes back into the stuff that we saw before. That you save all this, and I would add the primary information, and then because I don't do this, honestly, I can't tell you. There's a way within this ledger that you submit that. Let's see. Let's look at this. Is, I don't think that's what that is, but there's a way within here when you do that you can submit that to the insurance company. I just don't do that because we don't accept insurance, but you can see that that is an option that's there. So this is TheraNest. Okay, let's say I want to look at Cindy's payment history. There we go. Okay, she paid $100 of $100 on the invoice dated that day. Anyway, this shows you some of the things. Here's some reports. So these are the different reports that I can run on appointments, on case notes, open cases, assigned cases, missing progress notes. So let's say that I'm the practice manager and I know that all the appointments are in there. I can run a missing progress notes report to go back to my providers and go, hey, you don't have a progress report on this date. You need to do that. Or there's also a way that's set up in here for the intern that I do their supervision, and so that I can go in and sign off on their case notes as they do that. If I'm keeping track of my referrals, then which I need to be doing, I can run reports on who am I getting a lot of referrals from. Right now, the majority of our referrals come through Psychology Today. But we haven't done a lot of organic marketing or networking with other individuals in Nacogdoches or in the East Texas area. Okay, then organization. This is just information about the organization. You can see our address. You can see that type of thing. I could set up or I could accept credit card payment. One of the things to know about, if you use PayPal, if you take credit cards, then you are paying a service fee. I have a PayPal reader that I can read credit cards. I have a Square reader that I can use credit cards. Both of those take a percentage. On $100, I want to say they take maybe $3. But it's, to me, that $3 is worth not having to deal with checks. Lots of people don't write checks anymore, and so they may not even have a check on them. And it's not, if you have a check, then I have to get it deposited, and this is all done just kind of much more efficiently. Then, okay, you can see here's our location and rooms. This is where you can see that we've set up the different rooms. So, and we had to do that for the scheduling. If I wanted to do a client portal, I could do that. Again, that's an extra cost. And that would allow clients to get in and see certain things. Like, I think they could schedule some of their own appointments. You can do it where you can look and see what appointments are available. We don't do that. Here's where I could set up appointment reminders that it would text people that. I haven't played with that very much. Here's the insurance claim setting. That if I wanted, see, I would have to sign up for the clearinghouse. and request. There's different clearinghouses that process electronic claims, and so I would have to sign up for all of that. And I'm just happy I don't do that. All right, so that's just information on the electronic records management software that I use, and you can see what that looks like in some of the services that are provided. Those are the basic things that I think almost all of the systems provide, but you just have to go out there and look around and see which one best meets your needs. All right, that's all for this video. If I can turn it off.